Hi, everyone. I'm here today on the Wired Divergently podcast with Dave. Dave is an incredibly innovative pioneer in the space of accessibility, voice, multimodal AI. And every episode on this show, we follow one thread. What does it actually take to build companies, teams, and workforces that work for every kind of mind? I'm Jillica, the founder at Mentra, the world's largest neurodiversity talent network. And we've been working at the intersection of career, talent, technology, and the future of work to really figure out how do we empower the next generation of leaders, entrepreneurs, disability advocates, builders to have access to the world that we're stepping into. So without further ado, let's get into it. Dave, if you want to introduce yourself and what you do
Sure.
on a day-to-day basis.
I love all the things that you cover, my team especially. So, my name is Dave Dame. I'm the Senior Director of Human Centered Design. And what human centered design means, I have user researchers, I have cognitive scientists, I have ergonomic specialists, I have inclusive designers and regular designers. And why we say human centered design is we want to make technology valuable at the center of the user. We want the user at the center, and we want to make sure we develop the right technology, the right methods, the right modality, so they can do their work as fluidly as possible. And that's where our team is really anchored on by working with a diverse group of users and individuals to build technology not simply that people can use, but technology that they would choose.
That is so important, especially for a company that's reaching millions and billions of people around the world, and one in every four has a
Yeah.
disability. So it's a
Right. Disability or even non disability, right? Like everybody has certain challenges they have with their technology or their workflows. And the beauty is we're never going to stop trying to make it better. Because even though we'll make it better, we don't stop there. What was previously the end point is the next iteration starting point. And we want to continually learn from humans cognitively, physically, and just value wise, what really gives them the biggest impact with what they do.
yes. And that's exactly why this podcast is going to hit the hearts and minds of so many people. It's like, how do I apply my skills, apply my talent, apply technology to take me to this next level? I know, Dave, you have given a TED talk called Sprinting with Cerebral Palsy, as well as published a book, Leading with
Yeah,
Imperfect Feet. Would love to learn more of the premise of this, both of these works of
sure.
yours.
So I did the TED Talk, geez, a number of years ago, and I did it about agility to be more agile, to be able to inspect and adapt and deal with the unknown and complexity. And I put it in the frame of as somebody who grew up with cerebral palsy in a wheelchair, where the world wasn't designed for them, that was a lot of unknown. And just like agile software helped you with dealing with the unknown, it helped me deal with the unknown of life. And in my talk, I did the parallels of dealing with the unknown as a disability and how it shaped me as a leader. Because, like, I take great pride in being able to lead groups of individuals to be able to achieve more than any one of them could do individually. And the book kind of was a deeper dive into where the TED Talk was, where I talk about vulnerability, the ability of leading in the unknown and building resilient teams by showing empathy, by showing perseverance, by just getting used to none of us have all the answers, but how do we work with the collective to be able to learn and align together better, faster?
And you've probably done this a lot at Microsoft as a leader and paving the way across so many teams. I think a lot of people often it's rare to see people with disabilities champions that are leading the way, and I think it's only going to be more and more common into the future, especially as products
And
we just
that, and that's a
articulate.
great point. And that's what actually got me into accessibility. So even though in like as part of my team, we do lead accessibility and inclusive design. But previously in my career, I never did anything with accessibility. I was leading product or doing all these things. And when the pandemic hit, I turned 50. I really did a lot of soul searching by going, what can I do the remainder of my career that's going to really help others be able to sit at the same boardroom table as I've been able to sit at? How do we grow more future young users or young leaders rather that might be different than the leaders they see every day? And working at Microsoft designing solution like designing technology that's both inclusive and productive, we're going to get more people with all abilities all across the organization in different leadership levels, and it's going to build that diverse thinking corporations are going to need to be innovative, because innovation comes from a lot of divergent thinkers thinking differently. Because if everybody thinks the same and repeats, that's not innovation. That's more just duplication.
Well said. And I think something that really hit home when you shared it with me was this story about you in the workplace and not being able to use the bathroom because of the inaccessibility around
Right.
it. Do you
I
mind sharing?
remember I remember when I got my first job, like I graduated university, was all excited, and unfortunately it took me about 10 months to find my first job. Even though I had a degree, I had a great portfolio, I had all this great stuff. And it took me so long to get my job. When I interviewed and when I started, I didn't even think about looking at the bathroom. I made an assumption that it would be accessible. And in 1994, that was not the case. So I started like everybody, first day, they sat me to my desk, showed me around. And when I went to go to the bathroom, I realized my wheelchair could not get in. And because it took me so long to find my first job, I was too scared to ask for anything. So instead, I held it every day for 12 hours. I would not go to the bathroom. And so think about having to watch how little you drank, because you didn't want to drink too much, because I was hoping to be able to make the whole day till I got home. And because at the time I had a job that was very administrative and it had a lot of folders and papers, it took me 12 hours when my peers could get done in 8 hours. And I remember on the weekends, because I went to school for computer engineering, and there was this new thing called the internet. I thought maybe I'll automate the way we do it. So I built a website where people could log in, sign up for courses, vendors could come in, choose which ones they wanted to host. So what was taking me 12 hours a day, I was now getting done in 3 hours a day. The guy in a wheelchair was getting his job done 5 hours earlier than all his peers. I was like, who's disabled now? And then because I was able to see the world differently, it wasn't like I was the smartest one in the company, but it was a problem for me first because of my diverse situation. So when I got to solve it for myself, instead of being the outlier, I made everybody else the outlier, and they too could use the website and they got greater productivity. And that's what finally made me feel safe enough, because everybody's like, let's put Dave on more challenges. And I was coming up with all these things. They're like, do you need more people? Do you need more computers? What can we do to make you more productive? And I'm like, can you make a bathroom I could use? And they didn't realize for 2 years I was not going to the bathroom. And everybody was shocked. And then that really gave me the confidence to really be an advocate for myself, because all of us in certain situations are good at asking for help. But if the environment doesn't feel safe, nobody will ask for help.
Wow. So true. And once you were able to actually tap into your like genius potential, you made the entire team productive, which companies are starting to see and tap into more. If you were to talk to, let's say, someone who is just starting out in their career journey, has a disability, maybe is struggling with the interview process, would you have any tips or tools or recommendations for, or mindset hacks or shifts for how they could navigate it?
Yeah, I would say do better than me, because I never used to self disclose. Because to me, I didn't feel comfortable, right? Why would I give the interviewer a bit of information about myself that I don't have about them? Like, if they're a jerk, do they got to self identify as a jerk? No. So, I never did. But I now know we live in different times, so by all means, disclose and do what to do. But what I used to do was I would schedule the interview and then I would call back, and it would usually be reception or front desk that would answer. And then I would ask them all the accessibility questions like, is the entrance wheelchair accessible? Am I able to navigate it forward? Because that way I don't have to ask HR where they might write it down. They just think it's somebody randomly calling. So I would get all that information so I knew what to expect when I go for my interview. And I would say when you go for your interview, focus on the things that you've achieved. Because, at first I used to be thinking to myself, I have to prove to them that my disability won't impact me. But what I learned is, I just talk about the things that I've achieved, the the problems I've solved in previous jobs. It didn't even become a question. And I would only ask for my accommodations after I signed the job offer.
Mm.
And my accommodations were like special software. I got good at asking, do they have an accessible bathroom? Fool me once, shame on me. Or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And then just be open. And, I found the first job you get is the hardest because you don't have any experience yet. Sure, you have academia. But once you get your first job or two and you've proven yourself, you can just share the things that you've done and you don't even have to have that in your thought process.
Yep. I mean, ideally, we live in a world where you didn't have to prove yourself to get the support, but it
Yeah.
seems like when you do, everyone's trying to support you and making more of that ROI happen.
Well, that, and I also find nothing builds bonds than when you ask for help. Because when you ask for help, you're showing a bit of vulnerability. And if somebody offers help, you build deeper connections than you do by trying not to look vulnerable.
That's powerful, actually. Yeah, it's almost like it brings the community together because we can help each other. I love that.
Exactly. None of us are smarter than all of us. So we just got to learn from each other, follow people, learn from them, and just learn from yourself. Every day you get a chance to be different, evolve, or be different than you were yesterday. And living is really trying to take advantage of that.
Totally. And we're huge advocates of reverse mentorship and mentorship in general. Find someone who has achieved success in maybe your career or something you aspire for, and then try to ask them questions and be curious and inquisitive.
Getting mentors is the best thing you can do. And get mentors that are even in different areas or higher than you or below you, just to continually learn around you. And even when you choose to mentor, you usually learn as much as the mentee does. And I think mentoring is, in today's fast paced, flat organizations, is the best way you can grow yourself while you're in the workplace.
Absolutely, especially that experiential for those experiential learners. Totally.
Exactly.
I wanted to shift a little bit more to the topic of the era right now, which is AI. I know Microsoft has invested in a lot of tools, a lot of, for example, Skills Navigator and Humanly, and so many interview prep softwares. I'm curious how you're seeing how AI is changing the way that people work, and if you have any things you're excited about or even concerned about with this shift that's happening.
AI, like there's not been any better time to have a disability than right now. AI has been the key enabler to make things a lot better because voice technology has been around since the 90s. However, like many people that have dictated on their phone before, what you say is different than how you write, and dictation was never an easy or pleasant experience. Now, with AI, it can use the language model to really change change dictated text into written text where people don't have to mimic a mouse. Like when we used to use software, we'd have to go like launch Outlook, click new email, click to, Mark Smith, tab, hey, product briefing on Thursday, tab, hi, I'm looking forward to our meeting next Thursday. Da 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 da. Click send. Now I can just say send a message to the individual with the body and it automatically sends. So for me, that's been great. And even simple tools like transcriptions in meetings, getting your meeting like note taken all the time. Because I used to have to spend at the end of the day making my notes from all my meetings to know what I do. Now with AI doing that, it's really taken the grunt work out. And now with like multimodalities, if you're blind, the camera can tell you whether you're centered on your screen or not and do such amazing things. And I know there's a lot of concern out there that AI is bad and we got to make sure we have good data. All of that's true. We got to be very responsible to make sure we don't build biases in our data and to do the right things. But for people with disabilities, if they use AI as a tool, whether it's to summarize large emails, whether it's to use it for whatever it can, or even to author things, use it as a tool, but not as a crutch.
Yeah, don't outsource to AI entirely. It's like the cognitive decline challenge sometimes.
Exactly. And use AI to help you learn. Like, don't let it just do the task. Prompt it to go, hey, show me how to do this better, or show me how to do this for next time. Like, make AI become your teacher and mentor, the additional one that you always have with you.
What are some of your favorite tools for accessibility?
My favorite tools is AI, voice. Um, I like using I like using meeting recordings to get the transcripts. That's been hugely helpful. I like how now AI can also help you create PowerPoint decks by just verbally talking to it. I love being able to reuse information. So if I do a product briefing and I dictate a document, I can just say, also make an executive style PowerPoint presentation that's really graphical and draft an email with a calendar invite to schedule a meeting for me to present this to everybody. I can do all that orchestration as simply as I just said it now, taking away the grunt work so I can do the work I get paid to do and I love to do, and not the things I need to do, like type, organize, folder, email. Let it do the activities that are lower value so I can spend more time doing the higher value, really engaging human capital opportunities.
So well said. Couldn't agree more. Do you, by chance, have any, like, especially when it comes to the job finding process and just like the future of work, do you have any predictions on how jobs are going to evolve in this next, era with so many AI displacements of different
I
roles as
think
well?
how jobs are going to be evolved is everybody's going to be able to do more. Like everybody is going to be a leader of their agents that's going to be able to do things for them. So no longer are you a single individual trying to get a certain amount of tasks done. You're going to have a team of agents and you're going to be a leader from day one, where you're trying to facilitate the impact, what you're trying to do, and really kind of be able to instruct your agents to do more. It's going to force you to be a leader, a subject matter expert, and by force, I mean giving you the opportunity to, and to be able to get divergent. Like you can even use the agents to challenge your beliefs. Like before a major meeting, I'll have it poke holes in my proposal. You have you have a team that you can lead, learn from. You have a group all right there with you. So I think the future of work is everybody's going to be almost multi talented, not by themselves individually, but how they can utilize AI agents to supplement what they're not great at, but they still got the independence and agency to do that. I think the workplace is going to be wild because we're going to be able to do this more remotely to meet everybody where they're at. And it's going to really do what we used to call the soft skills, and people didn't think that are important. Now that we have AI doing a lot of the repetitive things, what's going to differentiate people are the soft skills. Are they really good humans? Can they do they feel empathy? Are they good at dealing with vulnerability and doing all those kind of things?
Wow, so well said. Yeah, absolutely. Those technical, I almost think of it as like convergent tasks, like the manual, monotonous, tedious things can,
Right? The tasks we don't like doing.
right,
Nobody likes typing.
right, yes. And now we
And
can focus more on the
the
divergence.
thing about when you're using voice, you get to think through your ideas. Because I can iterate, I can go, oh, don't say it like that, say it like this. Think about the times you're stuck with something. You go to ask your friend, and just as you're about to verbally explain it, you come up with the answer because you're using a different part of your brain. Now you can use your voice to be able to do that. You're using both sides of your brain and you can see things differently. Because when I was younger in engineering school, they said when you're trying to work through a tough problem or algorithm or whatever, talk to a rubber ducky on your desk. And the process of talking about it helped you see the problem differently. And that's how I see people using voice now, is they're able to really be able to think about the problem differently because they're speaking it out loud.
Yes, totally different part of the brain when you're vocalizing, and it's, yeah, it's almost humanizing. So it's somewhat like the process of communication with technology.
Right.
I love this. No, thank you so much. Okay, I know we're about at time here. I wanted to ask one last question. Your book opens with a beach story that stays with you long after you read it. Can you take us there and what was happening in your head
Yeah.
with moments?
Yeah. So it's funny. The beach story, I guess, ended up being the premise of my book. So years ago, I've been to the beach many times. When you're in Canada, live in the winter, when you go somewhere warm, you love the beach. But always, every time I would go to the beach, I would sit out right where the top of the sand is and I would look into the ocean. I would look into the ocean and go, wow, what would it be like to be over there? But I would never try. I was always afraid if I had someone walk me, will I fall? Will I trip? Will I even make it? I let my fears get in the way of moving forward. And on that one day, I asked a bunch of my friends to help me walk to the beach. And, after I took the first few steps, my biggest anxiety came true. I fell. And I could have either got back up and went back into my chair, which I didn't do, or it'd be a short story, or I could get back up and continue to the ocean. So I did it and I would fall and then I'd get up and we'd go further, which was great. Every time I was able to go further, I didn't learn to walk all that way. I just learned to simply get back up and keep moving forward. And then as I was getting in the water kept getting higher and higher. They go, "Are you ready now to turn?" I'm like, no, I haven't gotten far enough yet. I haven't went far enough. I don't know what it is to do. And I kept going and going and going until the water was about here. And then I thought, it's about time to turn around. And then when I turned around, I remember seeing something so beautiful that I never seen before in my life. I was able to see where I spent the first 40 plus of my years looking at it differently to see something for the first time. And what seemed to be so big and scary seemed so small. Everybody seemed tiny, where my wheelchair was small. It made me realize when you're at the middle of the moment, the situation looks bigger than it really is. And there was so much I learned, so much profound things that came up to it. But when I went back to my chair, there was an older gentleman that kind of made his way. He had his walker and he made his way to the water. And I thought, him seeing me go in the water helped inspire him to do the same thing. And when he was walking back, I go, was seeing me in the water what inspired you? He goes, no. It was me seeing you fall like an idiot a number of times to make me think if you could look foolish, so could I. And that's when I learned people aren't inspired by you as a leader, by the things you achieve. They're inspired by when you meet a challenge, fall down and get back up. So that beach story led its way for 8 amazing chapters of my book.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Brilliant. And there's something about the ocean too that's just like it's profound and healing and that story of getting back up, that's I have goosebumps, Dave. Thank you for ending it on such a powerful note. Thanks for your time today. For
My
everyone,
pleasure. I love what this podcast is about. I love how you're thinking about the future of the work, technology, and just different abilities in human diversity and leadership. All the great things that would make for a great podcast. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.
absolutely. And we'll link to your book and YouTube in the description below. Thanks everyone for joining us and have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks, Dave.